Big weekend for the offseason, Ricardo. Lamar Jackson has now officially been franchise tagged. However, it's not going to be enough unless he is offered a contract that is sizable enough for his kind of talent, right? And it seems like Lamar Jackson really truly realizes that, because at this point in time, he's given a lot to this Baltimore Ravens franchise. We're going to get a little bit deeper into that later on. Secondly, Daniel Jones has been offered a 4-year contract for the New York Giants. And as we know, the New York Giants had a pretty good deep playoff run this past season, but that was not thanks to Daniel Jones. Right? He was offered not only a 4-year contract, but a contract that was valued at almost $150 million. What do you think opening up, Ricardo? What do you think about that?
One important thing to bring up with Lamar Jackson's contract situation is that he got franchise tagged, but he was not exclusively tagged as opposed to exclusively tagged.
Yep.
To the average NFL person who doesn't know that, the difference being is that Lamar being not exclusively tagged, Jose, means he can talk to other teams and they can give him a contract while he's on it. And if the Baltimore Ravens don't match, he can just walk away. Whereas if he was exclusively tagged by Baltimore, that means that nobody can talk to him. For that year, he's Baltimore's property. No one else can talk to him. So that's my first thoughts on the news there, and then we'll get more into that a little later on. But I mean, Happy New Year. To do a famous quote that we like, Jose. Happy New Year and Thanksgiving
to Daniel Jones. My goodness. Yeah. Yeah. So it seems like Daniel Jones is really being offered something that he seemingly does not deserve, according to a lot of analysts and a lot of reporters out there. And Lamar Jackson is deserving of something, but he's not getting it. So there's a bit of an irony there. However, I don't want to spoil it too much. Let's go ahead and get past this intro, and then we'll get right into the news at this point in time as it stands. So with that being said, I'm Jose.
And I'm Ricardo.
Welcome back to RJ Talks, everybody. Ricardo, as we all know, Lamar Jackson did not have the best season this past season, but it wasn't because it wasn't due to lack of performance. It simply was because he got injured, right? And he was out for the remainder of the season. He did end this regular season with 203 completions out of 326 attempts, 62.3%. Pretty decent, pretty good for a quarterback in this day and age, in a passing league, as we have continued to reiterate time and time again. 2,242 yards, 17 touchdowns for 7 interceptions. Now, and a passer rating of 91.1. So not bad. All I have to say is not bad for Lamar Jackson, especially since he started off his career being a rush first quarterback, right? He's known for being the quarterback with the most legs throughout the entirety of the league. The newest quarterback with the most legs. And at this point in time, it seems as though deeper into his career since 2008, when he was drafted, he started to use his legs a lot more, and he has started to pass from the pocket a lot more than he has been the start of his career.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely, Jose. It's he's definitely one of the premier young quarterbacks in today's NFL. Now, I do want to start off saying with this podcast, however, is that my voice is a little bit in and out today. So if you hear sometimes me talking and you hear me, my voice cracking like I'm going through puberty, like I'm 12 years old again, my apologies. But so much news has happened this week, Jose, that I cannot postpone this week's podcast. Like we need to talk about what's happened. Lots of big news and implications for the NFL.
Ricardo, you and I have also been talking a lot off the mic about what's been going on this past week. So that might have attributed to the voice trouble that you've been having so far.
Yeah, so apologies there. My point will still get across. I mean, other than Patrick Mahomes winning a Super Bowl MVP and like 2 NFL MVPs, you could make the argument that Lamar Jackson has had great success early on in his career. I mean, winning an NFL MVP award and then playing, having his team consistently be in the playoff run, not necessarily the most success. But at least won a playoff game and trying to make a deep run into that as well.
Most definitely a start for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys just trying to build his body up so he doesn't get as hurt. But it goes without saying he's one of the most electrifying players in the league, not even just as quarterback, just a player in the league. So it's definitely a guy you want to keep for your team. If you, that's just my saying. You want to keep because he's
100%.
definitely your guy, and he has the potential to try to win something soon. So to hear this coming out of Baltimore is not necessarily surprising considering the build-up, but to the average person, it's like, why? Why did this happen?
Exactly. So we're asking the question as to why isn't it, especially with the salary cap starting to go up, right? The salary cap did go up earlier in the offseason. And I remember seeing the headline of that and I said, oh boy. That's why I was sitting there, Ricardo, and I said, oh boy, some big moves are going to be happening, especially with the salary cap starting to go up, right? So what exactly, this is my question now, is what exactly is Baltimore holding out for, right? Are they starting to have some kind of hope that they're going to be drafting a quarterback here in the draft? Because they're not that high up in the draft. We've already seen that, right? They are not that high up in the draft. I mean, so all of the good quarterbacks are going to be taken very early on, especially by Houston and by Carolina at the very least, right? So a lot of us are going to be sitting around saying, and now Seattle's out of the game because they just put out a contract extension for Geno Smith. They have a lot of hype and they have a lot of hope in Geno Smith moving forward into the future. So it seems like our suspicions for Seattle to be picking out a quarterback are now null and void. So it's really neck and neck now, right? For the Chicago Bears, the Houston Texans, and the Carolina Panthers, and the Colts as well. Yes.
My problem with Baltimore's problem, Jose, as to why they're having such an issue for Lamar Jackson is the whole problem, Jose, and I'm sure you've heard around. It's just the issue of guaranteed money.
Oh yeah.
I mean, guaranteed money is going to be a big issue to come. The NFL's trying to stop it, and we'll get into that a little bit later as far as no teams, quote unquote, being interested in Lamar Jackson. I'll go into the specific reason why, but the NFL can't stop this. I mean, Pandora's box was opened by the Cleveland Browns to giving Deshaun Watson the full and guaranteed money. Now, they can pull off making fully guaranteed contracts for all quarterbacks. However, quarterbacks are going to want that guaranteed money. That's as simple as it is to it.
Especially since Deshaun Watson was picked up mid-controversy. He was picked up mid-controversy, so that some of these quarterbacks are going to go, hey, you know what? I don't have anything outstanding with me, so now I'm going to be moving forward, and I'm going to be demanding this money because I don't have anything. I don't have anything to hide. So why shouldn't I get that money?
Jose, Kyler Murray, who hasn't proven anything in this league other than a Rookie of the Year, got $189 million guaranteed. That's not the total contract, just the guaranteed money.
Yes, sir.
$189 million.
Yep.
Yeah. So that number is going to be moving up above the $200 million range. And my problem with the Baltimore Ravens is it's just going to continue to go up. Even let's say, Jose, best case scenario, they get the number 1 pick overall in next year's draft. They get their franchise quarterback, and they end up being a potential franchise quarterback. You're still going to have to pay him. And this isn't going to solve the problem. It's just pushing it later down the road, and you can't guarantee that you're going to get your franchise quarterback, which is what I'm saying. Pay Lamar Jackson now. It's going to seem like a big bite at the apple, but we know about the NFL, Jose, is that like you just said, the salary cap is going to constantly go up and up and up as the years go on.
Yep.
So it's going to make that contract that he recently got look obsolete. A great example, Jose, Patrick Mahomes' contract extension. He still had 2 years left, so it was going to be like in the 12 years he's going to get $500 million paid to him. that looks obsolete now because it's less than $40 million a year. And so point being is that Kansas City paid their quarterback now, and now as the years are going to go on, they can build their team and have potential to build something even better as it goes on. So my thing with Baltimore is like it's not going anywhere. This problem's not going anywhere, Jose. It's not going anywhere for Baltimore or going anywhere for other NFL teams. They have to pay their quarterbacks, and the guaranteed money is going to have to go up. Yep. It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. Every NFL's core players, agents, is going to guarantee that for their player moving forward. Otherwise, they should be fired by their player because they need to get as much money as possible and as much security as possible. And this is a business. So Jose, miss me with the, we're a family and we brought you into our team. Like you need to help them. No, it's a business. You need to pay those guys what they deserve and stop giving them chump change. Jose, the NFL is the only sport in any league where the contracts aren't completely guaranteed. Baseball's completely guaranteed. Yep. Basketball's completely guaranteed. I don't know the situation about hockey because I don't follow it as much. But my point being is that guaranteed money is where players need to live at, and it's a risk. Of course, it's a risk. But if you want the services of that player, you need to pay them. You need to pay them, and that's all. That's all it comes down to, Jose. You got to pay the man.
Exactly. A quick sidetrack from what you were saying, and it really speaks to the point as well. Out of the four major leagues, baseball, basketball, football, and hockey, it seems as though it seems as though football is at the very least with the Pro Bowl and how it respects its Hall of Famers, it does the worst at that. Right? It seems like the NFL really just truly does the worst at that. So who's to say that same treatment for the Hall of Famers does not translate over to the current players? Right? And it seems like that same kind of mindset really transfers over to the current players. Is like we see this potential for these players like Lamar Jackson. And we see this potential for these players like Lamar Jackson, but we don't want to pay him the money for the risk because what if he starts to dwindle out? Right? As opposed to some of these other players like, say, Daniel Jones or way back in the day, Jay Cutler. And we start to see like, oh, these guys are coachable. These guys can get better. These guys can improve. Under what circumstance? You see what I mean? Like, under what circumstance can these guys get any better? They had a lackluster season the previous year before, but yet you're willing to sign them for 4-year extensions, 7-year extensions, when they haven't proven anything in this present day and time. But the great guys, the guys that are really good right now, you have some kind of hope. You have this kind of vision, this kind of idea that they're going to start to dwindle out after a couple of years. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Ricardo, but it seems like that's what the trend is right now.
Yeah, no, it's just it's ridiculous, Jose. It's just you get guys like Kirk Cousins that get like contracts, no problem, get signed. And who are mediocre, who we know what they are, but they get the benefit of the doubt, and like we'll sign them because we like them. And Lamar Jackson's struggling to get a contract now, and struggling to get a team to notice him because the franchise tag was put on him. I'm not kidding you, Jose. The NFL better watch out because Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert are coming up for contracts because they're 2 years out from getting extensions.
Yep.
And if for whatever reason, there's no problem. For whatever reason, Lamar Jackson doesn't get that not necessarily like a record-setting contract, but like the ideal contract that he wants, like a guaranteed money long-term with the team, and he has to like settle for something less. If Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert get that ideal contract over $200 million plus guarantee, there's going to be a problem for the NFL. PR wise, how it's looking.
Yep.
How is it that Lamar Jackson, a black young quarterback, is struggling to get this money from these owners, but these other guys who are getting their money, it's no problem getting the guaranteed money. It's okay. And miss me with the whole Lamar Jackson hasn't finished a complete season. Everybody gets hurt in this league. It just happens. Joe Burrow tore his ACL his rookie season. Justin Herbert has had some rib issues, missed some games early on in this last season as well. So Lamar Jackson has the more dynamic style of play, but that doesn't mean he shouldn't get paid for it. He needs to get paid for it. He needs to get paid for it quick because it's showing a bad side on the league. Go ahead, Jose.
It is, and 100%, and this leads me to this next point, Ricardo, is that here's the exact verbatim statement from General Manager Eric DaCosta, right? So this is what he said: having not yet reached a long-term deal with Lamar Jackson, we will use the franchise tag. There have been many instances across the league and in Baltimore when a player has been designated with the franchise tag and signed a long-term deal that same year. So this seems to be common practice, right? If you get franchise tag, you are signing a long-term deal. All right. Next thing, we will continue to negotiate in good faith with Lamar, and we are hopeful that we can strike a long-term deal that is fair to both Lamar and the Ravens. Our ultimate goal is to build a championship team with Lamar Jackson leading the way for many years to come. So, what? Okay. The major problem that I have with that, Ricardo, is the very last statement. Our ultimate goal is to build a championship team with Lamar Jackson leading the way for many years to come. So why don't you just do that? Why don't you just do that? What exactly is stopping you from doing that? What exactly stopped the New York Giants from signing a deal with Daniel Jones? What exactly stopped the Chicago Bears from signing a 7-year deal with a 7-8 year deal with Jay Cutler back in the day? What exactly is stopping them from doing that now? Because he's demanding more money that is deserving to him? What's wrong? Why are they not doing that right from the get-go if that's what their ultimate goal is?
Yeah, no, it's fancy PR talk to try to say this is not our fault if it doesn't work out. We are doing everything that we can, so fans, don't blame us if Lamar ends up leaving us. That's what that sounds like to me. It's like, don't blame us. We did our best. It's him. Right.
Which let's rewind for a second. So which brings us to our previous point is like, we already know that it's not Lamar Jackson. We already know that it's not Lamar Jackson. Had it not been for his injury this past season, he probably would have led him to another deep playoff run, if not at the very least the championship. Because
they were in the lead in the division.
Exactly.
Games, like 2-game lead.
Let alone from the very beginning, Ricardo, we had already talked about that division itself, right? And we said that they had a lot of easy games to come up with. But a lot of those easy games they lost because they didn't have, you-know-who, Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Ricardo, that's pretty much all I have to say about this, Ricardo, is the Baltimore Ravens seem to really be screwing with Lamar Jackson right now.
I'm gonna wrap it up with this, Jose, because I think it disgusts me if this now keep in mind, this is just me outside looking in, but if for whatever reason there's quote unquote no interest from other teams to sign Lamar Jackson, I'm like, then what are you doing as an NFL franchise? And Jose, I got this cool little website that tells me the amount of cap space that some teams have. So this is from spotrack.com, and it goes for NFL contracts and specifically NFL cap space, and it tells you the NFL dead money that they have for that year. It's very, very cool. You guys should check it out. I just found it trying to figure out like cap spaces for teams. Yep. Not many people are nerds like me, but to people who are, check it out. Anyways, so Chicago, as the worst team in the league, obviously has the most cap space. They have, I would say it looks like around $71 million in total cap space for this year. So, like, minus the dead money, that's the amount of cap space that they have. Atlanta, which is the number one team that people should say that he should go to. Can you imagine, Jose, Lamar Jackson, the second coming of Michael Vick for Atlanta? How much it would reinvigorate that franchise, that city? Mm-hmm. They have minus the dead cap space. They have it's $51 million of cap space for that year. So what's that telling me is that they have the cap space that they want to do it, and they can front load some of that money into a signing bonus and be able to get Lamar. And Jose, I'm sorry, Lamar Jackson or Desmond Ridder. Is that an honest question?
Oh my God! We already spent all of 5 minutes on Desmond Ridder this past offseason or last offseason. We don't need to talk about him again, and that's all that's deserving of it is 5 minutes.
Yeah, the Las Vegas Raiders seem like it would need some GM like finagling of the cap space because they have like $10 million of free cap space. But they also need a quarterback. So they could try to like front load some money into the signing bonus, make an official annual salary like $7 million or something like that. I don't know, but I know that Las Vegas needs a quarterback. Moving on to the next team that I think should get it, the Washington Commanders. I mean, they have cap space that's necessary. Like they can do it, and they need a quarterback. The Indianapolis Colts, Jose.
We'll see.
Over $9 million of positive cap space. Maybe they might draft Bryce Young. So that's the only exception I'll give them.
So we'll
Carolina, my goodness.
We'll see if the Washington Commanders front office is even going to jump on the opportunity to grab Lamar Jackson. Go ahead, Ricardo.
Yes. The Washington Commanders, they're just an enigma all up in itself. Carolina. Excuse me. Carolina has the least amount of cap space between the teams that need a quarterback, but they still have some room, and they can try to finagle their way around it. Now,
they also have a high draft pick. That's another thing too.
Yes, yeah. They have high draft picks, so there's options there. These other teams are minus the cap space, Jose. The rest that I didn't mention.
Yeah.
So the teams that need a quarterback will be Minnesota. Los Angeles, Matthew Stafford. We'll see how he comes up. Miami, and then would you know that Baltimore's under that cap space too, and then it looks like they might need a quarterback the way this season's going out. My point being, Jose, is that there shouldn't be no reports of teams interested. There should be at least 3 or 4. And not necessarily that they're going to do it, but interest. I mean, come on. You owners are really going to die on the hill and say, we're not going to play our players guaranteed money. We're not going to risk that for our league. You're not going to win. And you're just going to see Kansas City and Cincinnati making it to the Super Bowl each year on the AFC side. And then you'll see the Eagles and the Niners do the same thing. So you're just going to rot at the bottom of the league, and like you're going to make your ticket sales, you're going to do all this, and you're not going to win. And when you get frustrated about why aren't we winning, it's because of archaic thinking like this, Jose. If I'm an NFL owner, screw that. I need a franchise quarterback, and I'm going to give him the contract that was best suited. I'm going to give him at least $200 million guaranteed, and then $50 million not guaranteed. I want a quarterback. I want to win.
That's what one would think. That's what one would absolutely think, Ricardo, because the league, as well as the organization, is of no shortage of money, especially if their priorities are in the right places. Like having a good, if not great leader to lead their team. And that's what the Baltimore Ravens have. And for them to place a franchise tag, let alone a non-exclusive franchise tag, what's going on? What's happening? It's like, is that the best incentive that you can give to somebody that has given so much to this team already since 2018? He's 6 years in. And what have we been talking about week in and week out on this podcast, Ricardo? He's 6 years in and he still looks this good. Who's to say that he's not going to take those talents to another team? A team that needs him much more, that is willing to widen that cap space and go, hey, you know what? We're willing to give you this money. Come and play for us. Let's go win a championship.
Can you imagine if Miami got him, dude?
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine that offense?
Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine if Miami got him and he was in that offense? My point
what do they do with Tua? What do they do with Tua and Tyreek and Jalen Waddle? What did they do last year?
Yeah.
Enough said.
Pretty much. And like my thing about like the whole like them not paying guaranteed money, like trying to keep it down, it's gonna come up. When Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, you seriously not gonna pay him that money? You're gonna risk him walking out that franchise, either one of them? Okay. Right. Okay, NFL. Let's see how many of you guys stick together then. So pay Lamar his money, or it's going to look bad for everybody, not just the Ravens, but everybody. And be like, why isn't this young black quarterback getting guaranteed money? But when Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert come up for contract years, they get that money. We'll see. Speaking
of that one mediocre quarterback, Ricardo, that is a great segue to get into the second topic, which is Daniel Jones signing a 4-year contract with the New York Giants, worth just under $150 million. Everybody do not go away for those fireworks. Okay, Ricardo, this entire debacle with Daniel Jones, right? I mean, it seems as though Davis Mills in Houston has shown more promise than what Daniel Jones has. Not by much. Not by much. Mark my words. Not by much. But a little bit more promise than Daniel Jones, right? And even then, Houston's still looking for a quarterback. With the second pick in the NFL draft coming up right now. Daniel Jones, Ricardo, on paper, he looks pretty decent. His career stats up until this point from 2019 to just this past season have been 64% completion percentage even. 11,603 yards, 60 touchdowns for 34 interceptions, so pretty much just over breaking even, or pretty much just over 50%, right? And then 86.5 passer rating out of 100. So Daniel Jones looks decent on paper, but I need to pose this question to you, Ricardo. What exactly have you seen that speaks to the contrary?
Since he's been in the league, he's either number one. I forget the exact stat. It's either number one or number two in total turnovers by a player in the league, and that's including the interceptions and the fumbles that he's done in recent times. So it's just the inconsistency about not turning the ball over, man, is ridiculous. And until Brian Daboll showed up a year ago and showed him how to play conservative football as an NFL quarterback, he was well on his way out, Jose. Like, it's just he had an okay rookie season. He was like great. He got that pop, 33,000 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Some fumbles. Let's turn it down a bit. Then that next year, sophomore slump, under 3,000 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 24 to 11, 10 interceptions, more fumbles, and then 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And then this year, he finally had a respectable number of under double-digit interceptions with a decent amount of double-digit touchdowns. So Jose, just to bring some perspective into this, they signed this quarterback who had 15 passing touchdowns. Russell Wilson in a down year, in a worst year of his career, at 16.
Yeah, exactly. And he even then, Daniel Jones still was third in the league for interceptions.
Yes.
For 5, he went for 5, and he was third in the league. And then he was tied 21st for touchdowns in a passing league. In a passing league.
Really quickly, I'm sorry, I did not want to cut you off. But
No, I cut you off. Go ahead. Yeah.
He has 42 fumbles in his career. So you have a total of 42 fumbles. So you have a total of 34 interceptions, which you said 60 touchdowns, 34 interceptions. It's not fine. It's okay. It's decent. But when you add 42 fumbles on top of it for a career, he's Danny Turnovers, not Danny Dimes. He's Danny Turnovers to me. That's why I'm just I'm so confused as to what the Giants are doing. But it's just, it's rough because I can see what they're saying. Look, Brian Daboll brings out the best in this guy. Let's try to get him some receivers. But the guy's showing you who he is. He's showing you who he is. And he needs a conservative offense that only plays to his strengths and doesn't force him to make mistakes. And there's going to be times where he's going to be asked to carry the team, and this guy can't do it. He cannot do it. That's my opinion. He cannot do it. I do not agree with this contract whatsoever, but they're at this point right now, so they got to add some receivers around him.
Even with a top-tier coach of the year, mind you, in Brian Daboll.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well-deserving.
Exactly. Well-deserving. Brian Daboll, coach of the year. Daniel Jones still wasn't able to perform under his tutelage, if you will. Right? He still wasn't able to put up the numbers that are consistent with the passing league as it is right now. Right? Top of the bar is Patrick Mahomes. Is it not? He's the best. Mm-hmm. He's the best quarterback in the league right now, and he threw for over. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ricardo. He threw for over 40 touchdowns this past season, this past regular season. And right now, Daniel Jones is sitting at 15. 15, tied for 21st in the league out of 32 teams, 32 starting quarterbacks. I mean,
yep.
What's going on? What exactly is happening? Where is the excuse now? Especially since they did make a playoff run this past season. Where's the excuse? There is none.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, am I wrong, Ricardo? I mean, it's there is none at all. Especially with, I mean, and we held Jalen Hurts to that exact same standard before the season even started. We held him to that exact same standard and said, hey, you know what? That front office in Philly is making some really great moves. Even midway through the season, they picked up some strong defensive players. And now there was no excuse for Jalen Hurts to perform. And what did he do? Took him to a Super Bowl. A close Super Bowl at that.
Yeah.
So what exactly is the excuse for Daniel Jones now? None. There is none.
None whatsoever. No, and mind you, Jose, there's a difference. This is Jalen Hurts' third year. This is Daniel Jones' fourth year. He's going to go into his fifth.
Yes.
So, I mean, they're really banking on getting him a receiver either in the draft or signing a free agency. I mean, if I'm New York and I'm trying to prove like Daniel Jones is like, if he can really be a player, there's one receiver that's available to be traded for, unfortunately, and he plays for my team, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
Still an elite wide receiver if you want to go ahead and grab him an elite weapon at that. But what are you going to do when you give him elite weapons and he's not performing? I mean, it's just, or he looks similar to what he is. You're stuck. You're stuck for those 4 years, and it's just. I would have waited, Jose. So let me put it into perspective here. The situation that Lamar Jackson is now, that's what I would have done for Daniel Jones. It should not be the opposite. It shouldn't be that Daniel Jones gets his long guaranteed contract before his contract is close to expiring, like Lamar's did. Lamar's situation should be reserved for a quarterback like Daniel Jones, who still needs to prove if he can play in this league. Not necessarily like be like elite, but just still play in this league and be a quarterback. Lamar Jackson's a former NFL MVP. I'm gonna quit bringing him up, but I'm just putting up the point of as far as like, I don't get what New York is doing. I mean, this guy's not the second coming of Eli Manning, okay? Like, he's not. Even Eli was clutch. Eli was clutch even at his worst.
I was about to say still, man. I mean, even Eli Manning in the regular season. I mean, and we've already discussed Eli Manning in the past. We've touched on him beforehand, where he's just the weirdest quarterback to ever play in the game. Because in the regular season, he was pretty much lackluster, but in the postseason, it's like, who the hell is this quarterback? Where has he been the entire regular season? And then he won 2 Super Bowls. Against the Patriots, the undefeated Patriots, mind you. One of those victories was. And just to correct earlier, Ricardo, Daniel Jones' deal is worth $160 million with $82 million guaranteed at signing and $35 million in incentives.
So it's still so let's say he doesn't hit those incentives. It's still $140 million for over 4 years. So that's... Yeah, so this guy's getting paid $35 million a year, which is your average signing quarterback.
It is.
Your average salary, but I mean, it's just I wouldn't have done it if I was the Giants. I mean, I would have waited another year and then see what the next quarterback draft class is looking like. I mean, it's just we'll see, but it's just. It's undeserved in my opinion. He just had the recent breakout year. He hasn't shown consistency enough to earn it, is my opinion. He got it early, great for him, but we'll see.
And like you said, Ricardo, this was his opportunity, right? And especially with the New York Giants really looking for, like you said before, a wide receiver in the draft. And as well as free agency. And just recently, I saw that the Arizona Cardinals just let go of Robbie Anderson, right? The guy, the tall, lanky guy that they picked up from the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, from the Carolina Panthers. So there's one guy right there. However, is he going to fit in the system? That's pretty much up in the air right now. But the point is that the New York Giants are looking for another guy, especially since they just released Kenny Golladay.
Well, a disaster receiver that guy was.
Exactly.
Now showed that he needed Matthew Stafford.
Now, in that case, they made a smart move, right? But so what exactly is New York's play with Daniel Jones here? Not Ricardo. I'm at a loss for words right now. I don't even have a clue. I don't have a clue as to what they plan to do with him.
I think what's going on, Jose, is that they saw the success that Brian Daboll gave Josh Allen, an early turnover-prone quarterback, and who was under the tutelage of Brian Daboll, able to come set himself and become an elite quarterback in this league, not just in the AFC, but in the league. So my thought process as far as what the GM and the owner are currently thinking, like, well, this was just year one. Like, he's looking like, okay, let's give him some more time to develop with this guy, and we might have ourselves another instance of Josh Allen. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This guy, it's just he's not that accurate. He needs a protected playbook to help him out, and we'll see what he gets to with his receivers. But he's just, Jose, he has the turnover bug. I said 42 fumbles and 34 interceptions. That's 76 turnovers in 4 years. 76. It's just it's mind-blowing to me. It's mind-blowing to me that they signed this guy and they're thinking that he's going to be the answer, but he's not. And they'll find out the hard way. So be it. But it's just, this guy is not going to be the answer at quarterback.
I'll give the New York Giants a second form of credit. The first one being that they got rid of Kenny Golladay. All right, that's credit number one.
Yes.
Number two is the fact that they kept Saquon Barkley. All right, yeah. So it's Saquon Barkley. He had a phenomenal season since his rookie season. He had a great season, and it's good that they are deciding to keep him. But even then, I mean, what's the play then? Is Daniel Jones going to be a game manager? Is he going to play a role tantamount to Baker Mayfield in Cleveland? What's going to happen then? But even then, you still drop the average amount of salary for Daniel Jones to do what? To be a game manager, or to pass the ball around? What? So that's the bigger question now, Ricardo. Is that's going to be the play? Is that going to be the play? No idea. Yep. So I have to give the Giants credit where credit is due. The fact that they kept Saquon Barkley, he's a fantastic running back. He's a fantastic running back for that system, for that organization. By all means, keep him. Mm-hmm. By all means, keep him. That's fantastic. That's great for Saquon. All right? Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to Saquon Barkley as far as I'm concerned. But Daniel Jones, my goodness. I mean, what else is there to say? It's a bum move. It's a bum move. It seems to be.
And the thing is that they're going to have to eventually let him off the leash, and sometimes have him play and like sling the ball around in some games. And they're going to need him to win a couple games here and there and show what he's worth. And I don't think it's going to happen, Jose. It's a very conservative style of NFL offense, which is very 2000s like. It's run and pound. Don't play don't force anything that isn't there. Don't do anything. Don't risk those turnovers, which he did cut down by, to give him credit. I mean, he threw 5 interceptions this year, his career low, and then 4 fumbles. Let me take a look here. 6. Okay. So he cut it down to just 11 turnovers this season, but still with only 15 passing touchdowns. And it's not like you could say it's like a Jalen Hurts system where you have Daniel Jones running more times than he should and not. And then he's athletic, but he's not. It's not like a Jalen Hurts style of play. So as far as Daniel Jones, the way I can wrap up with him is just his bet. It's like Dak Prescott. He had his best game up to par in the first playoff game of the year. Yep. He had his best game. He had his best game against the Vikings. He was showing it here and there. He was looking like a top 10 quarterback who deserved a contract extension. That was just one game. Then the next game, it was just awful. Typical Daniel Jones. It just looked like typical Daniel Jones as they got ramrodded by the Eagles. So my point, that's just my point about it, is just I don't think he's the guy. I mean, good for the Giants to try to believe that he's the guy, but I don't think he is. That's how I'm going to end it.
100%. And 100%, I agree with you through and through, Ricardo. I mean, it doesn't seem like Daniel Jones really has much left to offer, especially in his 4th year as a quarterback. Right? He has shown who he truly is. Right? It takes us 2 to 3 years to realize what kind of quarterback is going to be playing in this league, especially since it's all about immediacy. That's what the league is about. No matter what position you're playing, it's all about immediacy. So how soon are you going to be proving to not just your organization but the rest of the league that you're a top contender, that you're the guy that's going to help take them to heights that they have not seen before, right? Even then, for example, the Detroit Lions, we've seen that Jared Goff is a great placeholder for right now, but as a placeholder. The rest of the team is pretty much built around Jared Goff. He had his greatest season this past season, bar none, his best season. But even then, we're still not seeing Jared Goff being held up to the heights that, say, Patrick Mahomes is or Jalen Hurts is. Because Jared Goff, early on in his career, has already proven who he is as a quarterback with LA. So, and that's just as an example. That's just pretty much as an example here in this league. So as far as Daniel Jones is concerned, I personally don't have a whole lot of faith in him. And like you said, Ricardo, rewind back to the mid 2000s in the NFL, he would have been a fantastic quarterback in that kind of league. But it seems as though the New York Giants are not moving in a direction of progression. They're moving in a direction of what has worked before, right? Of stability. They're moving in a direction of stability as opposed to progression. And that progression requires them to have an even balanced quarterback play.
And to give Brian Daboll credit, though, I mean, the Giants maybe front office is going too far with this, but he pulled the most out of Daniel Jones his rookie season as a head coach. Yeah. Oh yeah. He did what he's supposed to. Win with the pieces around you. But if you honestly ask Brian Daboll, who you would have a quarterback, you'd rather have a quarterback that he could trust and create a more explosive offense.
100%. And we have to give credit where credit is due once again. It seems like the New York Giants are really making some correct decisions as far as keeping Brian Daboll, getting rid of some getting rid of a lackluster wide receiver and keeping a fantastic running back. I'm not saying that the New York Giants are really making these terrible decisions all around. They aren't that bad. They're really not that bad. But as far as this decision goes, they could have made a better one, right? But it doesn't seem like there's really a whole lot of it doesn't seem like there are really a whole lot of options unless they're in negotiation with some other free agents, right? Like Lamar Jackson, for example. They could be talking to him, right? But with this move that they made with Daniel Jones, it would be very confusing for them to pick up another quarterback, free agent or otherwise.
Yeah, I'd say the other team in New York should be trying to get Lamar Jackson.
Right.
But
right.
We'll see what they end up doing for the quarterback position. They're definitely on the move right now.
Yes, sir. Mike White has shown some promise, but they need to gamble on somebody that's a lot more reliable and that has a lot more experience in this league. Yeah, especially with the track that they have been on this past season. But as far as the New York Giants go, those are my closing thoughts. Daniel Jones, not the best pick, right? But the New York Giants, Brian Daboll, as well as that front office is concerned, they've been making some pretty decent decisions. This one, I don't particularly agree with, but whatever they have planned later on in the future, I just hope for the best that the New York Giants continue to flourish.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And we're loving these news as they come out. I was kind of hoping, Jose, that as we were doing the podcast, we would get a breaking news as far as what the New York Jets have done at quarterback. But so be it. We might have to wait until next week until we get that official notification by ESPN.
Oh, Ricardo, with the offseason as it's been up until this point, we might expect some fireworks like that. Some more topics to be talking about for next week. But with all that being said, it's been a pretty busy week so far. We've been hoping for some better news as far as Lamar Jackson's position goes, but it seems as though we're going to have to wait, right? But for Lamar Jackson, he's been a phenomenal quarterback. There's no question. There's no doubt about that. So we'll just see if, number one, the Baltimore Ravens see him as deserving of that position, or number two, if another organization is willing to take that gamble.
And make no mistake about it, Jose. Lamar Jackson's not playing this season without a long-term guarantee.
100%.
Long-term contract.
And he deserves it.
He's not going to play under that.
He deserves it.
Yes.
Yes. He deserves it. 100%.
So he's going to get that long-term contract one way or another, whether it's this year or if he holds out until next year.
Yes, sir.
We'll see.
I won't be surprised if he takes a season off like Deshaun Watson did. I would not be surprised by that. I hope he doesn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I would understand.
Yeah.
With all that being said, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. If you like what you hear, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at RJTalks_11 for any news on our updates or any news on our uploads. Thank you so much. Have a good night, and we will see you next week.
See you guys next week. Hopefully my voice sounds a lot better. Thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah.